Hey guys, konnichiwa again and welcome back. So I mentioned before I'll be making some videos about my experiences teaching English in Japan, as I taught for 5 years in elementary school. And actually I haven't seen many videos on this topic, so today I would like to talk about school lunch in Japan, mostly focusing on elementary school. And I think whenever you see like a video on Japanese school lunch in elementary school, it's pretty one-sided. Like it shows it as being perfect, everyone's happy. But I think anyone that has actually been in a Japanese school lunch in elementary school can tell you like a pretty different story. So today I'll talk about the good and bad of Japanese school lunch. So first, let's start off with the good stuff so we can start off on a good note. So first, number one, it was quite cheap. It was about less than about $5 a day, about 500 yen. And you didn't have to make it. It would get delivered to the classroom or teacher's room every day. So there was pretty much no hassle involved. And also there was a pretty good variety of Japanese food. They always had like, different dishes like, ramen, fish, like miso soup, like Japanese vegetables. They even had some pretty rare stuff that you usually don't eat, like this thing called renkon, and it's actually lotus root. And also, it's a good way for the kids to see the kids to learn responsibility. You would often see it in the videos on like Facebook or YouTube. Like the kids have to serve each other. There's like no lunch ladies or anything like that. And like each kid has like a set responsibility. For like one kid has to serve like rice. Another kid has to serve bread. Another kid will have like soup duty, and that sort of thing. And they all have to clean up everything, all the silverware and trays up by themselves afterwards, and they all get to wear little white clothes, so it's pretty cool to see like the kids little dress up and pretend to be lunch ladies. So I think that was pretty neat. Also, the Japanese school lunch was like quite reliable. I don't think I ever had a day in like the 5 years that I taught where the school lunch truck was actually late in coming. Like it was there on time like every single time. People say that about the trains here, but they're late pretty often. It's kind of uncommon, but it happens. But like this lunch truck was like never ever late. It was always on time. So I really like that about Japanese school lunch. And so let's talk about the bad parts about Japanese school lunch. So probably the first one, I think many of the English teachers had this problem. We all would say there was never enough food. So how it worked was each classroom would get like a set amount of food. Like if there were like 30 students in a classroom, you would get 30 students worth of food. Like there was no leverage on that. And often if you wanted seconds, there would be none unless maybe somebody was out sick or they were absent for the day. Then there would be some seconds for people to have. And also another problem was like the portions were pretty small in these lunches. I think they were mostly designed for like maybe like a 10 11-year-old kid in mind, and of course it was like never enough for me. And the teachers also eating in the classrooms would also have to eat like the same amount of food. I think that was also like kind of one of the rules they had. But like if I ate in the teacher's room, I could get more food, but that was pretty rare. And then I would go eat lunch with the kids, and then they would often see my food and they would be like, "Oh, that's great, you have more food than me," but I'm like, I'm not like a 10, 11-year-old kid. I'm going to eat, more food than you. So, but also I don't even think it was like enough for the kids, because, they would be pretty hungry again right afterwards. But that's just me, at least what I think. And also another big problem I saw with Japanese school lunches was there was no choice. So everyone, I think it's pretty much a rule, everyone has to eat like the same exact set meal. Like there's no leverage. Like if you don't like green peppers or carrots, you have to eat them regardless. Like there's no like leverage on there. And if you dislike something from the set menu, that's something you won't be able to eat, and you won't be able to eat much. Like for example, if any of the kids didn't like rice or milk or bread, well, pretty much congratulations, they would hate school lunch, because like 100% of the school lunches had either one of these three things in them. And also one thing about the no choice in the set menu was that the point was you had to eat it all. They wanted you to eat everything and not leave anything on your plate. And it was kind of bad though, because some of the teachers really heavily enforced this. Like I have seen some teachers like they would hawk the kids and make sure like they would eat everything on their plate. So that really made some of the kids really nervous. And this actually made some of the kids like, like hide their food, dispose of it elsewhere, just kind of like pick at their food the entire lunchtime. Like I saw kids like, spend their entire lunchtime like, peeling the skin off grapes or peeling the skin off bread as besides, actually eating something. So I thought that was pretty bad. And I would hear stories of food being like discarded in random places like bathrooms or like on the playground. But that was pretty bad, I thought. And also, it was also pretty bad with the set menu. It was bad for kids with allergies. And also, I think the teachers didn't know about the kids' allergies very well because I would often see them on the phone with like their parents and whatnot, and they would just be like, "Oh, it's fine if they don't eat, XXX, right?" But I don't think they've ever heard of like cross contamination. Just coming in contact with said allergen could cause like a really bad reaction, and like but I think the kids who would have like pretty serious allergies or have like mini food allergies, they would bring their own bento. And I think most of the ALTs by the time, or at least by the time I finished my contract, many of the ALTs had quit school lunch and started bringing their own bento. I mean, many of us had either had like food allergies or dietary restrictions or just didn't like it. And I think our town was pretty notorious for like having a crappy school lunch. But anyway, so last bad thing I would like to talk about was I didn't think the school lunches were very healthy. I mean, you also like in the videos, they're like, oh, the school lunch looks so healthy. I mean, it's balanced, but I don't think it's like, very nutritionally balanced. Because I mean, most of the lunches would be very like very carb heavy. Like 100% of the time there would be some kind of like heavily refined sugar, like bread or white rice, or like noodles and pasta. And I think that's really bad for like kids, just would give them like an energy spike, and then they would just feel tired like afterwards. It'd be hard for them to focus focus on their later classes. And also just eating like all this refined sugar just makes the kids like just hungry again like right away. And I would have kids like in English class like right after lunch, and they'd be like, "Yeah, we're hungry," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's because you guys didn't eat. One, you guys didn't get much to eat, and two, it was mostly just sugar. So of course you're going to be hungry." And also, I mean, they would have vegetables and things like that pretty often in soups, but I think, well, at least in my opinion, they pretty much be boiled to the point of no return. At that point, most of the nutrients are lost. And also like these soups and things were like cooked long before they came to school, so they've even lost even more nutrients. And I think like the most important nutrients that need to be put in like a school lunch, like proteins and fats, were actually pretty scarce in these lunches. Like I think, for example, like I remember, like if there were like meatballs, like one day, like each kid would get like a single meatball, like, and that would be it. So I'm like, why don't kids get like more, like protein and fats in their lunch? Just like, it's really important for energy. So anyway, that's all I have to say about school lunch in Japan. So in the future, I'll do more videos about my teaching experiences in Japan. And if you guys have any questions or opinions on Japanese school lunch, feel free to comment below. So please like and subscribe. I'm on Twitter and Instagram under @DragonCloud64. And I'll see you guys later. Matane.